A new campaign beckons. Enter the Bad Zones from the Sump Sea to the Dome Jungle. From deadly Zone Mortalis to the Stygian Depths. Join me as I talk about my newest campaign, The Bad Zones. This time on JD in the Sump Sea. Welcome back to JD in the Sump Sea. I'm Jay, and today we're going to be building some Hive Scum and also talking about the new campaign that I'm starting soon, a Bad Zone campaign for Necromunda. So we're going to look at the PDF and we're going to look at some miniatures that I'm building for the campaign. And if venturing into the bad zones of Hive Primus is something that you consider just another Wednesday night, then perhaps you should bust out that Warhammer and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you don't miss any of our videos. Let me tell you about Badger Games, a new partner with JD in the Sump Sea. Badger Games sells Frostgrave, Stargrave, the Silver Bayonet, Dungeons and Lasers, Bolt Action, Perry Miniatures, Mantic, Cromlech, and so much more. By typing in JD 2026 on your next online order, you'll help out the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Now back to the show. So in this box right here that my good friend Mike gave me, he printed a bunch of things for me. I'm going to pull these miniatures out first here. So he 3D printed some pretty cool miniatures here. Different parts of different things. A bunch of 3D printed parts. Got some bases and a bunch of other random stuff. He actually has another bag of these he's going to be giving me next week, but we'll look at this and I'll build some stuff today. He also got this really cool flyer for me that he printed, and I'm really excited to get this thing put together. The last scenario in the campaign is, I think it's called Escape the Hive, and it is a mission where the gangs have to get to an escape shuttle basically and fly out. So that's what this is, and it's kind of based kind of on the Arvis Lighter, but it's actually a cargo carrier. So it's meant to actually have a cargo container, like the Games Workshop size cargo container, in this back section here. It would slide into the back, and then it could carry cargo containers. But I think what I'm going to do with it instead of that actually is I think I'm just going to enclose it with some cardboard or some plastic card or something and put a gate on the back, and then we can just use it as like a regular shuttle, which is what I kind of want anyway. So I think that's going to work pretty well. But yeah, so I'm just going to build some Hive Scum here, and I already started these. These are 6 guys that I started last Thursday. Last Thursday I started building this, and you're going to see some footage of me building my Chaos Helot gang that I'll be playing in the campaign. They also function as the bad guys because in the last mission where the gangs have to get to the ship, they're going to be defending the ship with a whole bunch more besides what I'm building here. But throughout the campaign I'll be playing as a Chaos Helot cultist gang devoted to Tzeentch, just in case there's somebody that doesn't show up. I'll be able to play. But I think if we have even people every week, I will just be the arbitrator. Unless somebody wants to do like a 3-player game, or the campaign calls for a multiplayer game that week. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, so I'm going to get going, build some of these Hive Scum. And like I said, I'm combining these 3D prints with a whole bunch of other bits that I have. I have all sorts of sprues and bits that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to get to it. Alright, so this summer I decided to make a Bad Zones campaign for our game store, Old Guard Games. And what a Bad Zone campaign is kind of up for interpretation. The rules for the Bad Zones, basically different rule sets for different environments, is from the Book of Peril, which came out a number of years ago, but it's still a great resource for arbitrators and for gamers who want some different types of things to happen in their games. So anyway, the bad zones are these areas of the Hive that are just really terrible. There's the Stygian Depths, there's the Sump Sea, there's overgrown, overgrown hive with plants, like overgrown, like areas of the hive with plants that have overgrown it. There is collapsed sections of the hive that you can explore. These are all the bad zones. So my campaign is based in the bad zones, and instead of doing something like a Dominion campaign, I basically structured it based on the scenarios, and the scenarios are normal Necromunda scenarios you might find in the various books, but I've modified the scenarios to be, more bad zone oriented, meaning that they have bad zone event tables that are built into the scenarios. So I've also engineered this campaign to be basically week 1, everybody plays the same game. Week 2, the people play the games based on the results from week 1, and it's scenarios that the players pick which exist in specific bad zones with rules associated with those zones. So that's kind of how I've structured the campaign. It's different than a lot of the other campaigns out there, but I wanted to try something different. So anyway, let's get into it. This is the packet that I designed. This is page 1. We're going to go into the next page. So campaign background. Yeah, as I said here, the bad zones are areas of Necromunda where few dare to tread. They're hazardous zones where one wrong step could spell a hapless hiver's doom. There are criminals, heretics, and other less savory individuals and monsters who call these zones home. The thing about the bad zones, too, is that they hold all sorts of valuable treasures, things like archaeotech, Hmong vases, and demon weapons, and other things like that. So the way the campaign is structured is the idea is the gangs are going into the bad zones to find these rare and valuable objects. And once they're in the bad zones, they can acquire items that will help them find these objects. Dome runner maps, Gilder cartographs, etc. So the gang creation rules, fairly typical for Necromunda, 1,000 credits to start. All gang types are allowed. I'm not limiting anything. If you want to play Ash Waste Nomads, doesn't matter. There are no vehicles, crews, or mounts, and you're only allowed one hanger-on at gang creation and no brutes. Also, in this bad zones, lawful and outlaw don't really matter that much to anybody. So you can be a lawful gang and have an outlaw hanger-on, and the only people that are going to care are you, basically, if you do at all. The other thing is, let's say enforcers might care, but nothing else is going to matter. So you can mix and match outlaw and lawful hangers-on and items and things like that. Doesn't matter. There are no allies, no house favors or subplots. Also, the tactics cards, every gang gets a 10 tactics card deck that they can build as long as there's no duplicates, and they can use any tactics cards that are legal for that gang, with the exception of the cards listed here: no Hive Tremors, History of Violence, Dangerous Footing, Effigy of the Damned, Tainted Meat, Unnerving Whispers, or A Present for You. This is typical for campaigns that we run at the store. Also, existing gangs from the Sump Sea Perpetual campaign are allowed, but they're an offshoot of their gang. So we're currently doing a Perpetual campaign in the Sump Sea. This is kind of a side diversion, a side quest, if you will, for these gangs, if the players want to use their existing models and characters. That's, of course, up to them. But what you would do to do that, I've put rules in here where it says you take an existing champion from that gang, upgrade them to a leader status, and they lead this new offshoot of the gang into the bad zones. You can only take 1,000 credits of the existing gang you have, and as long as it's a legal gang, of course, you can't have just champions, right? Something like that. You have to have at least some gangers and whatnot. But yeah, you could build an offshoot, essentially, of the gang you're playing with in the Perpetual campaign, bring them into the bad zones, and then they can leave the bad zones, so provided they're still alive at the end of the campaign, and rejoin the Perpetual campaign's main gang they were part of originally. So I just thought I'd add that little tidbit in there. You can always do your own brand new gang, or bring in your Perpetual campaign gang. So that's gang creation rules. Campaign structure, as I kind of mentioned earlier, each week is based on scenarios. So week 1, everybody plays the scavenge scenario. One of the changes I made with the scavenge scenario is they're 4-player games. And in the loot crates, if you roll a 6 when you open a loot crate, you get a map fragment. And the map fragment matters for week 2. So week 2, I've got 4 different scenarios listed here. Propaganda, Escape the Pit, Bad Zone Encounter, and Clandestine Rendezvous. So if you have the most map fragments, you get to pick the scenario you want to play. So you don't pick the opponent, you pick the scenario. So Clandestine Rendezvous may be the one you want to pick. That one, the winner of that scenario gets to keep the rogue enforcer that's in that scenario and keep them as a champion. They add to their gang as a champion of that gang. They count as 200 credits for gang rating. Bad Zone Encounter, that's basically 2 gangs fighting each other, and there's a Bad Zone event table that I made specifically for that scenario. Escape the Pit is 2-player scenario. They're trying to grab loot crates and bring them to the escape zone, which is kind of in the middle of the board, which is kind of like a big elevator that goes up. The tiles around the board, each turn they kind of disappear, so the whole place is kind of collapsing. They got to get the heck out of there. Propaganda, this one is going to be this mission is going to be available to play weeks 2, 3, and 4. This one, basically, there's going to be a bunch of random Hive scum out there, and the players can coerce them to join their gang. Now, the reason you would do this is because in this campaign, you only can recruit new fighters after week 2 and week 3. You can't do it after week 1, you can't do it after week 4, and so you only have a couple of opportunities to recruit fighters. These are opportunities to do them by playing the propaganda mission. After weeks 2 and 3, you can go to the trading post. Basically, it's the Bad Zone trading post from the Book of Peril, but it does not include the Dome Runner map, Gilder Cartograph, Archaeotech Device, Blind Snake Pouch, or Mung Vase. Those items are available through the scenarios. The other items from there are available to purchase in addition to anything common from the main trading post in the core rulebook. So after week 2, you can go to the Bad Zone trading post. You can also recruit fighters. Week 3, there are 4 scenarios. Again, you have propaganda, but then you also have fungal horror. Fungal horror has, plants that are trying to kill you. But if you win that scenario, you either get a Dome Runner map, a Blind Snake Pouch, or a Grapnel Launcher that only requires a basic activation to use. Another scenario you could pick in week 3 is Terror in the Dark. The gangs have to survive a monster or monsters that are stalking them. The winner of that game, however, gets a Gilder Cartograph, so that's pretty nice. And then Escape the Bad Zones. They're trying to get out, but they are confused as to where they're going, so they kind of have to escape from the opposite board edge that they deploy from. The winner of that scenario, however, does find a Gilder Cartograph. Let's look at week 4. So week 4, again, you could do propaganda. You do War in the Shadows. The winner of this one gets the Mung Vase. The Race to the Vault, the winner of that one gets an Archaeotech Device. And Seize the Cache, the winner of that one gets the Whispering Weapon, which is basically a demon weapon. In week 5, this is when it's time to escape. So there are 3 escape missions. Escape the Bad Zones. This one is set in the Sump Sea, and they have to avoid sludge jellies, muty tribes, and a static storm. These are all Bad Zone events. Escape the Hive that mission is where there is going to be that spacecraft that I showed earlier that you have to get to and get out by flying away in that. And then Escape the Deep, there's going to be elevators and ladders that they have to get to get out of there, and that's the Stygian Depths scenario. So basically those are the scenarios, weeks 1 through 4. And then let's go on to scavenging. So after each week, you can also scavenge. So you randomly pick a ganger, juvie, or prospect, but you don't pick, leader or champion. Roll 2d6 and consult the table. All sorts of things could happen. The fighter could have an unfortunate encounter and have to roll on the lasting injury table. Or it could be as good as getting d6 times 10 credits and adding that many credits to their stash, or even finding a roaming person that happens to be a champion for your gang. So you could also do that. So scavenging can be pretty useful. You can only do it once per week, but that's another way to acquire things outside of going to the trading post, basically. So triumphs, we have a Hoarder of Coin, the gang that has the most wealth.
The legendary status, the gang with the highest reputation. The warmonger is the gang with the highest winning percentage. Lord of the Horde is the gang with the most fighters. Bloody Handed is the gang with the most out of actions of their enemies. And Survivor is the gang that has the fewest of their own gang who went out of action. So once the campaign is done, the bottom sentence says there, gangs that are Bill's offshoots can rejoin their original gangs. So in the last part of the packet, I have the Bad Zone items of Renown. So this is where I describe the blind snake pouch. So this one basically, it gives a fighter the dodge skill. If they have the dodge skill, then they dodge on a 5 or 6. If they're targeted by a fighter with Overwatch, their dodge is on a 4, 5, or 6. So pretty useful item. The Dome Runner map, it could be random. You have to roll on the table to see what it is. Once you figure out what it is, it remains that for the rest of the campaign, and you get to bring it back and use it in the future, potentially in future campaigns or during the perpetual campaign. The Gilder Cartograph, they get to pick what the Bad Zone event is when it's rolled during the scenario, so that's a really nice thing to have. In addition, because the Cartograph shows the locations of hidden Gilder supply caches, the player with the Cartograph can place 4 additional loot caskets anywhere on the table before deployment. Now these are played exactly as the rulebook says, so you don't get any money for them, but you could get other things for them, or you might get money, it depends. But basically you play it exactly as the core rulebook describes them. The Archaeotech device. Now this is one of the things you're looking for when you go into the Bad Zones. The Archaeotech device, however, is, who knows what it could be. When you find it, you have to roll on this chart to see what it is. It could be dangerous and just, explode in your face. Or it could be a pistol that's actually a melt-a-gun pistol. I mean, that would be pretty amazing. So you get a whole bunch of options here for what the Archaeotech device is. You do have to roll on the chart when you find it, though, because who knows what it could be. It's an ancient piece of tech. Alright, the Mung Vase. This is an interesting one. This is a relic from the first edition Necromunda. So this is an item that goes in the stash. And the cool thing about this is if you want to recruit a hired gun, it's D6 times 10 less credits than normal, to a minimum of 10 credits to recruit that guy. However, the hired gun, also it doesn't matter what the gang's reputation is. But however, if you lose a game, you roll a 6, and on a 1, the hired gun takes the Mung Vase with them and leaves you. So it's kind of dangerous. But the Mung Vase could be, again, who knows what it is. You have to roll on the chart to see what it could be. It could be just a knockoff worth almost nothing. Or it could be insanely, ridiculously valuable, as a number 6 is. It could be worth hundreds of credits. But you got to roll the chart to see what it is. So the Gleeful Judgment, that's the last thing here, and that is a whispering weapon. That is a demon weapon, essentially. It doesn't say it here, but that's essentially what it is. It is in the form of a hammer, and it increases the bearer's cool by 1 to a maximum of 3+ every time that you take an enemy fighter out of action. So they could get really cool really fast. This is a permanent characteristic change. However, when an enemy fighter is taken out of action with this weapon, every fighter within 3 inches of the bearer must take a nerve test at -2, because when an enemy is taken out with this thing, it is terrifying for anyone who views it happening. Now, the Whispering rule is it cannot be unequipped or affected by the Disarm trait. If the bearer is taken out of action, you have to apply the following effects. So when the bearer of the weapon is taken out of action, you need to see how many times he's been taken out of action. So if you've only been taken out of action 1 time, then all the fighter's weapons gain the Reckless trait. So this thing becomes reckless. If it's on a 2+, the weapon's strength is increased by 1. So if he's taken out of action twice during a campaign, the strength goes up by 1. If he's been taken out of action 3 or more times, the bearer begins each battle with the insane condition. However, the 4th time the fighter's taken out of action while wielding a whispering weapon, the fighter is killed. If the weapon's bearer is killed, roll a d6. On a 2 to 6, the weapon can be sold. On a 1, another fighter in the gang must equip it. So, that's the crazy thing, is that the weapon will attach itself to another member of your gang if the bearer of it dies and you roll a 1. So it doesn't necessarily leave your gang if the bearer of it dies. So it's kind of a cool, interesting, weird thing. that you can get and can be potentially pretty powerful. But anyway, that's the Bad Zone campaign packet.
I hope you enjoyed watching me assemble some models and talk about the new Bad Zone campaign. I'll be doing probably at least one more video about the Bad Zone campaign before it's done, or maybe after it's done, just to wrap it up and give my thoughts on how it went. That's all I've got for you this time. So as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.